Okay, meet Alex, my chronically well-intentioned sidekick who thinks start small means start with 10 energy drinks and 1 yoga pose. I'm narrating, obviously, because someone needs to explain his life choices. Today, I'm going to show you how habits secretly run the show in our brains, and how understanding those brainy shenanigans actually helps you change them without turning into a motivational poster. Spoiler, Alex will demonstrate both the right and wrong ways, mostly wrong, and we'll laugh at him with love. One morning, Alex decides to have a tiny change. He swaps his usual 2-minute scroll into a 5-second stretch. He thinks it's nothing, which is exactly the point. Habits are built from tiny, repeated decisions that stack like invisible Lego. I watch him, fascinated, as his brain quietly decides whether to save or discard this new behavior. As your narrator, I get to be both amused and scientifically smug. Tiny wins compound, and Alex is about to learn that the hard way. Now, imagine little ninjas running around your skull. That's basically your basal ganglia. I'm not being anatomically poetic. That's actually where automatic behaviors get stored and replayed. Alex is convinced these ninjas are literal, and once tried to negotiate with them by leaving a sandwich outside his bedroom door. Long story, don't ask. The point is, the brain parcels tasks into routines so you don't have to think about brushing your teeth while also solving your taxes. You're welcome. Automaticity is your brain's autopilot mode. Reduce decision load, save energy, and let the basal ganglia take over. Alex discovered autopilot when he flossed his headphones instead of his teeth. Don't ask how many people he talked to that day. I explain this because when something becomes automatic, it's resilient, but also silent. You stop noticing the steps, and that's where change gets tricky. Lucky for you, learning the autopilot's rules is like getting the cheat codes. By the end of this chapter, you should be thinking, okay, my brain stores habits like a lazy librarian, so if I rearrange the shelves, maybe I can find the good books. Alex will try rearranging the actual shelves later and cause a minor avalanche, but the metaphor stands. Knowing where habits live gives you leverage. You don't wrestle a ghost. You redesign the environment and the brain's path of least resistance. And yes, I'll remind Alex not to build a ramp to the cookie jar. Again. The habit loop is short and elegant. Cue, routine, reward. It's like a very small, efficient soap opera playing in your head 100 times a day. I point this out while Alex reenacts a soap scene involving a coffee cup and dramatic sighs. Trust me, he's committed. Understanding this loop is how you stop being a passive audience member and become the director, or at least an assistant director with sticky notes. Cues are the little triggers that say, go, time of day, a location, an emotional state, or even another person. Alex thinks a cue is the word donut and will sprint at any mention of it, so we keep conversations donut-free around him. Jokes aside, identifying your cues is the first practical step. If you know what flicks the switch, you can either avoid it or repurpose it. It's like learning which buttons start, which machines in the factory of you. Routines are the actual actions, the moments you do the thing. Alex has many routines, including the legendary 5-minute tidies, which conquers 2 cushions. I explain that routines become efficient with repetition and consistency, and that the brain loves predictable sequences because they're cheap energy-wise. Change the routine, keep the cue and reward, and you can steer the loop toward healthier outcomes. It's elegant and slightly manipulative in the best scientific way. Rewards are why your brain files the behavior away. Dopamine says, that felt good, remember this. Alex once mistook dopamine for dopamine and offered it a sandwich. Delightful, but incorrect. More accurately, rewards teach the brain which actions to value by creating a prediction and then a signal. Dopamine tags the memory as worth repeating, especially when there's a surprise element. If your reward is immediate and satisfying, the loop solidifies faster. If it's delayed, your brain might ghost the habit. Here's the movie scene. Morning alarm cue. Mindless doom scroll on Alex's phone routine. A hit of novelty and avoidance of boredom. Reward. Then repeat until Wednesday. I narrate line by line because watching Alex in loop mode is both educational and an ongoing sitcom. The trick is swapping the routine for something small and meaningful. Swap doom scroll for 5 minutes of sunlight, and your brain may prefer that new routine over time. Alex will need incentives, but he's adaptable. Neurons are the cells that gossip with each other via electrical and chemical messages, and together they choreograph your habits. Alex once tried to befriend a neuron by leaving tiny post-it notes on his brain. Fascinating commitment, zero scientific effect. The process that matters for habits is that repeated patterns of firing make those connections stronger, and that's where the phrase neurons that fire together wire togethers comes from. In plain language, practice makes the brain's path well-trodden and cozy. Synapses are the tiny gaps where neurons pass neurotransmitters, and plasticities means your brain can reshape those connections over time. When Alex learned that plastics didn't mean permanently flexible in every way, he felt oddly betrayed by his Tupperware. But seriously, plasticity is why habits change. With repeated practice or deprivation, synaptic strength shifts. This is how the brain rewires from "I always snack at 3 p.m. to "I now drink tea at 3 p.m. Synapses follow the pattern you repeat. Dopamine isn't a pleasure juice, so much as a prediction and motivation signal. It spikes when something is better than expected or when something interesting is about to happen. Alex thought it meant instant happiness and pursued it through questionable snack strategies. The real lesson: dopamine helps the brain prioritize actions by signaling "this was worth noting" and "pay attention next time." Surprise rewards light it up most, which is why unpredictable rewards make habits stickier, like gambling, but with fewer velvet ropes. Long-term potentiation is the brain's version of strength training for synapses. Repeated activation makes connections stronger and more likely to fire again. Alex treats his gym membership like a guilt prop, which is maybe why he's better at remembering fees than push-ups. For habits, LTP is the underlying mechanism that cements repetition into routine. It's slow, consistent, and slightly boring, which, ironically, is what makes habits powerful. The prefrontal cortex is the planner and can override the basal ganglia, but only when it's awake, rested, and not too emotionally taxed. Alex tried to summon his prefrontal cortex at 11 p.m., and it ghosted him faster than his last 2 New Year's resolutions. Practically, that means decision-making resources are finite. Willpower is real but limited, and you should use it strategically. Design habits that reduce willpower dependence, and your brain will thank you in quieter, more obedient ways. Breaking a habit by sheer willpower is like unplugging a fountain with a teaspoon. Theoretically possible, wildly inefficient, and you'll probably get wet. Alex tried this method. He sat in a bathtub holding a teaspoon, which was both ineffective and wet. Instead, we use strategy, tweak cues, change routines, or alter rewards so the brain stops auto-choosing the old behavior. Practical, elegant, and far drier than Alex's bathtub experiment. If the cue triggers a bad routine, move the cue. Alex learned this when I suggested he put the TV remote on the roof. He agreed and then spent 20 minutes assembling a ladder and suspecting me of villainy. In real life, you can place tempting items out of sight, change notifications, or alter your environment so the cue doesn't have the same power. It's environment design, not punishment. You're just creating a path of less temptation and more dignity. Rather than trying to delete a routine, replace it with something that satisfies the same need. Alex loved snacks at 3 p.m. because he needed a mental break, so we swapped chips for a 5-minute walk and a vitamin C shot of sunshine. The brain prefers continuity. Keep the cue and reward, but change the middle. It's less like surgical removal and more like swapping an actor in the middle of a long-running show. Drama minimal, results better. Add friction for bad habits and remove it for good ones. If your phone is the enemy, make it less convenient. If the gym is your friend, make it easier to get there. Alex once created friction by putting his snack cupboard inside a puzzle he had to solve, which amused and mildly exhausted us both. The point is simple. Tune the effort required to favor the outcomes you want, and the brain will take the path of least resistance, hopefully the healthier one. Accountability turns private intentions into public commitments, and tracking gives feedback so the brain knows progress is real. I had Alex write his streak on a sticky note, and he turned it into an art project, which is adorable and slightly distracting. Still, seeing a chain of X's or a progress bar lights dopamine in useful ways. Your brain loves visible evidence of improvement. So track, celebrate small wins, and let Alex continue making his sticky notes pretty in peace. Tiny habits win because the brain rewards consistency more than intensity. I told Alex to do 1 push-up a day, and he immediately did 50 and regretted it for 3 days straight. Classic Alex move. Instead, the trick is to create a habit so tiny it's embarrassing to fail. Your brain will file it away as easy and repeatable, and so it becomes part of your automatic repertoire. Start with tiny momentum, then amplify. Habit stacking means attaching a new habit to an existing one. After I brush my teeth, existing, I will do 1 mindful breath, new. Alex loves stacking things so much, he tried to stack pancakes with sticky notes, which looked impressive but was a nutritional hazard. The power here is context. Your brain already recognizes the anchor, so the new habit piggybacks on a stable cue. It's elegant, low friction, and avoids making your prefrontal cortex do all the heavy lifting. Implementation intentions are if-then plans that convert vague goals into concrete actions. If it's 7 a.m., then I will walk for 5 minutes. I coached Alex through one, and he asked if he could make an if-then possibly's plan, which is cute but not very effective. The structure works because it couples a clear cue with a simple response, reducing ambiguity and decision slippage. It's your brain's favor. Give it specifics and it'll cooperate. The more attractive a habit looks, the more likely your brain is to pick it. Temptation bundling is a trick where you pair something you love with something you should do. Alex pairs dance breaks with spreadsheets, which somehow increases both productivity and questionable rhythm. You can also use immediate micro-rewards after the behavior to reinforce it. The brain doesn't care about philosophical benefits. It likes fast, tangible payoffs. Make the new habit appealing, and your brain will RSVP more often. Progressively increase the challenge so your brain updates success expectations slowly and sustainably. Don't jump from 0 to marathon is the idea Alex tried to ignore twice. Celebrate micro wins to create positive feedback loops. Alex likes celebratory noises and confetti, so I allow a tasteful sprinkle of both. Over time, the habit becomes less about discipline and more about identity, but the road there is paved with tiny, consistent wins and a few silly dances. Relapse is not failure, it's feedback. The brain is testing boundaries and sometimes wins back its old path. Alex had a relapse day where he ate an entire cake, declared himself in training, and then apologized to the cake later. Culinary remorse is real. The practical take: expect setbacks, learn from them, and return to the strategy rather than spiraling into self-judgment. Compassion plus curiosity beats shame every time. Habits stick harder when they align with your identity. Instead of, I want to run, try, I am a runner, even if that runner currently walks elegantly and occasionally sprints for donuts. Alex tried identity swapping by declaring himself a minimalist and buying 3 minimalist hats, but intention counts. The brain uses identity cues to guide behavior. Choose small identity statements and back them with tiny, consistent acts. Over time, actions and identity converge, and that's the real magic trick. Habits are social. We mimic, we compete, and we seek belonging. I roped Alex into a tiny habit group, and now he shows up mostly on time and with dramatic enthusiasm. Choose people who reflect the habits you want to build, or at least people who will applaud when you swap chips for fruit. Social reinforcement is a powerful amplifier for behavior, both the good and the hilariously bad, so pick your tribe wisely. Goals are nice, but systems are what make you show up. Alex wrote a goal, read more books, then organized his bookshelf by color and never read a page, which is aesthetically satisfying but functionally dubious. Create routines, environments, and cues that make the desired behavior the path of least resistance. Systems make success inevitable. Goals are the map, systems are the road, and Alex occasionally builds roundabouts. All right, time for the consolidated playbook. Identify cues, design new routines, choose immediate rewards, stack habits, track progress, and protect your identity. I hand Alex a tiny printed playbook, and he treats it like a sacred scroll, which is adorable and slightly dramatic. If you follow these steps and show yourself patience, your brain will eventually adopt the new path as its favorite default. And if Alex occasionally detours to celebrate a cake, we'll empathize, recalibrate, and keep going. Here's a quick checklist. Pick one tiny habit, attach it to an existing routine, make it attractive, track it, and celebrate wins. I give Alex the checklist and he reads it aloud dramatically, which is both useful and strangely theatrical. These steps condense the science into actionable moves you can try immediately, and they work because they respect how your brain actually operates. Try them for 2 weeks and notice what changes. Treat habit change like a science experiment. Hypothesize, test, measure, iterate. Alex treated it like a theatrical experiment involving glitter and a timeline, which made cleanup interesting. Small experiments reduce risk and let you learn quickly. If it fails, tweak the cue or reward and try again. Over time, your tiny experiments become stable routines and your brain quietly reorganizes to support the new you. Tonight, pick one cue you can control for tomorrow. Pick a 1-minute routine and decide on an immediate reward. I whisper this to Alex like a coach because it sounds dramatic, and also he listens better to whispers. Make it easy enough that you can't say no. Baby steps beat perfect plans. Do that for a week and report back, metaphorically or literally, and we'll recalibrate together. Make the process enjoyable. Add small rewards and forgive yourself when things falter. Alex's mantra became progress, not perfection, once he realized perfection required too much laundry. Humor helps. Laugh at the absurd attempts, iterate, and keep showing up. Habits are built on repetition and kindness, especially toward yourself. If Alex can move from doomed to scroll to 5-minute sunlight enthusiast with a few nudges, so can you, and probably with fewer comic mishaps. He promises to continue the journey. Vow made with sincerity and a small dramatic bow. I vowed to film it. Remember, brains are adaptable, habits are plastic, and change is a series of tiny, sometimes silly decisions. Go make one tiny decision today, and maybe don't put the remote on the roof, please.